Whew, man, that is music to my ears. It sounds absolutely fantastic over here after they do compression and YouTube stuff to it. I mean, maybe if you're listening on a good set of headphones, that might sound good for you too, but whew, I love that. Anyway, thanks for stopping by. It's your buddy, Scott Newby, with Bass Brings Us Together, Living It with Scott Cat podcast. And today I want to do my first impression after having the Buckeye monoblock amplifiers for roughly about 48 hours now, and I've got about 4 to 5 hours logged with them, and I just want to share my initial impressions. Maybe in like a month or so I'll do another video of long-term use of my thoughts, but for right now, I mean, that first impression is certainly important. People have been waiting for this video. I was waiting for the amps. A lot of anticipation around this. So without further ado, let's dig in. So what you are looking at right now, these two guys right here, monsters, absolutely monsters, big time power with these guys. You are looking at the NC2K monoblock from Buckeye. One channel, capable of 2,500 watts at 4 ohm, 8 ohm compatible, 2 ohm compatible, pretty much can drive any speaker that you hook up to it. And it's got a lot of power. Now the speakers that we're using these with are high sensitivity, so I don't need that much power 90% of the time, but I certainly appreciate having it because I have pushed these to their limits and they have not given up or even the slightest hint of distortion. The specs on these things are astronomical when you look at amplifiers, but so pretty much it'll drive any speaker that you put up to it. No, I mean, no lie. Wouldn't be here feeding you guys any kind of garbage. Each one is pushing a true 3-way speaker with 4 10-inch drivers and a 2-way coaxial inside of a horn, way beyond comfort levels for anybody, and no hiccups, no trouble lighting, no overheating, no issue whatsoever at all. So there's certainly tons of power. Now, from a fidelity standpoint, the signal noise ratio on these, 133, frequency response from 0 to 50,000 kilohertz. The distortion at half power is 0.002 distortion. So you can push 1250 continuous in your speaker. So if you have low efficiency speakers or really hard to drive speakers, you can push over 1,200 watts into those with 0.002% distortion. That to me, I mean, it's mind-boggling because I've been in this hobby my whole life, and to see amplifiers like this pushing out this kind of power is staggering, to say the least. Each one of these is pushing the center section of this. Now granted, it is high sensitivity, but I listened to very uncomfortably loud levels yesterday, and all 10s were moving like crazy, and it was loud as heck in here, and it was clean, and it sounded absolutely amazing. So for these amplifiers being $11.95 each, and that includes shipping, I don't know why you would. I mean, honestly, I don't mind spending money on stuff, but for me, I don't know why I would spend any more money. There's no distortion, extended frequency response, and to me, it seems like unlimited power. I'm gonna go over a few questions at the end of this video that people were asking me while I was waiting on them, or that were just super curious to know beforehand, before I did this video, of my initial thoughts on them. So these amps also offer, they have auto sensing on and off if you want to do that, or 12-volt trigger for on and off, which is great, 5-way binding post. And then they also have a switch in the back that will help meet the voltage of the preamp or receiver that you're hooking them to. For the pair sound, it was on the medium setting, but it has low, medium, and high. It matched up. It was almost like a perfect setup. Like, these are the amps that I have been waiting for. You guys know I've been through some amplifiers, some good ones too. So there was nothing wrong with the amplifier that I had in place. And this is, we'll get into that question now, is people were asking me, man, I've attended your get-togethers. That system sounded amazing. Are you scared about changing? I wasn't, because I've heard Buckeye before, I've hung out with Dylan over the internet through like a podcast and that, and I've followed some of Dylan's work over on ASR and AVS, and he's not scared to answer questions or give technical, detailed responses, and he's always seemed like he's been for the enthusiast. And I've had the pleasure of listening to multiple Buckeye amplifier setups before purchasing these, so my expectations were certainly high. Just the problem with the other amplifier we had, it wasn't made to push 8 10-inch drivers and two-way horns at 4 ohm, or sometimes even lower than that. And I would run into issues that if I dropped the crossover on the mains below like 90 hertz, that amplifier would run out of gas and kick in its protection circuit. That amplifier was used on a different project. I put it in this project to power the RTJs, knowing that someday, that especially if I wanted to use the RTJs to their full capability, which means dropping the frequency down to 60 or 50 hertz, that I would need more robust amplifiers. So that was a reason for switching out. So another question I got was, well, how do these sound compared to your old amplifiers? Now I've had a Rotel 2-channel amp in this setup. I've had the Cherry 2-channel setup. What's good is this amplifier sounds the same as the Cherry did, which is good, because to me, a good amplifier, I don't like amplifiers that make things sound hot or seem, mellow or laid back or adds intensity. I don't like that. I think amplifier, in my opinion, should just amplify the signal and give me the most clean, undistorted sound it possibly can. And if I want to change the sound, then I'll treat my room in a different fashion. I'll set my speakers up differently. I can set up a custom EQ curve. I can do other things to my setup to fine tune the way I want it to sound. I don't want that baked in to the amplifier. So I feel that, like the previous amplifiers, that Buckeye's stance, and this is just me guessing, but it's pretty much whatever it's receiving, it is doing the cleanest job it can of amplifying that sound and giving you the most pure sound that it can. And then that just gives us the option of doing what we want with that. So seriously, it's super clean output, and that's what I wanted. Now, another thing that I've had problems with other amplifiers in the past, but the thing that I really enjoyed about the Cherry amplifier, not so much about the Rotel, is so these horns right here, there's a 2-way coaxial driver in the center of that horn. That horn is huge. I think it's 20 inch by 20 inch or 21 by 21. Very sensitive, 100 dB or just over 100 dB sensitive. On a Rotel amplifier that I had, you could hear the faintest hint of hiss. It wasn't audible away from the speaker, but if I stick my head in the horn, I could hear it. Now with the Cherry, I couldn't hear that. I didn't know if I was going to hear it with the Buckeye or not, so even before I hooked it up to the preamp, I just hooked the amplifier right up to the speaker, stuck my head in the horn, and it was like sticking my head in a black hole. Absolutely quiet, amazing, exactly what I wanted. That low noise floor. Now we have somewhat of a lively room. We did carpet and put a couch and some GIK panels behind the speakers, but still it's a living space. So not a super dedicated 2-channel room, but still having a low noise floor was important to me. So it succeeded in that as well. One final question that I want to tackle real quick too is, if you're building a high resolution 2-channel setup, how come I didn't go with the Purify modules in the Buckeye amps? And the only reason that I didn't is because this model is the most powerful model. Now the Purify does have better specs on paper. I don't even know if I would be able to appreciate or hear that. I believe they're roughly around half the amount of power. Still, a crazy amount of power, like 1250 watt or whatever they were. But these amplifiers here spec'd out better than my previous amps, which was fine. I just wanted it to sound exactly like it did, just with more available power, and that's exactly what I got. So if you're not looking for this kind of power and you're chasing certain numbers, which I can appreciate that as well, then they certainly make even higher end amplifiers than this with just less power. But I have no background noise, no floor noise, no nothing, just clean, insane output. So 10-minute video just covering quick my first impressions. I've got to log on quite a few songs, all at various levels. One last thing that I do want to address is you can kind of see in the top here, and I have them stacked, and I also have a DAC Velcro to the side of it now, is they do get warm under continuous use, especially the way I was kind of using it. So you can't see, but I added a little fan that's just stuck to the equipment rack. Now that I use the fan, they're completely cool to the touch. So I would suggest that they would be spread apart so they can cool better, but we're trying to condense this a little bit. So the way I have them, the fan certainly helps out. I'd use them without the fan the first day. They both got pretty warm. I think my fault, poor ventilation, as you guys can see. I had a little fan the next day, played for 3 hours or so, loud volumes, low volumes, even left them on for like 3 hours in their on position, completely cool to the touch. So if you guys have any questions or comments, I love answering questions. I'm certainly an open book when it comes to this kind of stuff. But yeah, I'll jump back on here in a couple of weeks after I get to even do more music. At the end of this month, we have a get together. Maybe I can get some of those guys' thoughts and ideas of what they think. But this has done exactly what I wanted it to do. Price is good, shipping's free, clean, low distortion, high output, in excess in this current situation, which obviously that's what we're all about over here. So hey guys, appreciate you guys stopping by. If you're enjoying these videos or need some other kind of videos or have any questions, certainly like, subscribe, ask the questions. That's why I'm here, to hang out with you guys. All right guys, I will see you guys soon. Have a great weekend.